I'm Judy Lyon from Meadowlyon Designs. Welcome to my booth, or at least the virtual booth. All of our patterns are available as paper patterns, digital patterns, and some as PDF downloads. In this virtual booth, we'll only sell paper and PDF downloads. I have distributors who sell my digital patterns, legacyquilting.com, intelligentquilting.com, and quiltscomplete.com. It just so happens that legacyquilting.com is having a 50% sale this week of the virtual quilt show. Oh, wait a second. You didn't know about that sale? You must not get my newsletter. On the first homepage of my website, www.meadowlyon.com, you can sign up to get my newsletter, and then you'll have all the important news like that. But let's get back to what a pictogram is. A pictogram is 12 feet of non-repeating pantograph. This is quilted with my backwoods pictogram, one of the very most popular. Look, you can see the deer, a bobcat, a bighorn, a mule deer, a cougar. I love seeing all those things. It makes it so interesting. Oh, by the way, we have patterns for these two quilts. But let me show you that backwoods pattern. So this is a non-repeating pattern. Notice all the different animals. I love that, don't you? Now we need some kind of borders or things to go with those. And so on this side, I have a lot of borders that I used in this quilt. I used the fish tails border. Then I used the small pine cone border. We have other pine cones. We have pine spray that comes in 2 sizes. And another pattern that really fits with these pine cones is snowbirds. I love this pattern. And if you go to my website and look up snowbirds, you'll see the beautiful quilt that I made with this pattern. Finally, when I was drawing the backwoods pattern, I thought of all the funny things that could happen on a campout, like a dog chasing a skunk or bears getting into the food. So I drew all those things in the campout pictogram. All those funny things are happening. On this side, I have some other things that could go with the woodsy theme. If you wanted something more simple, here's the river flow, edge to edge. Here's knotty pine. Pine would be a wonderful border around backwoods or campout or any of these patterns. Well, what if you didn't have pine trees where you went camping? What if you had birch trees? Well, maybe you would rather have birch bark. And finally, just for something more fun, a 4.5-inch interlocking Eldorado pattern. Have you ever made a whole cloth quilt? I wanted to make a beautiful white whole cloth quilt. I had patterns that I thought would be great. Wedding bell swag, rosebud stripe border. I was really excited about making it, and I was going to stitch it with gold thread. Now, when I use metallic thread, I always put a solid color thread with it. Otherwise, the metallic doesn't really have a strong statement. It needs some of the others. So I always put 2 threads in the needle. Anyway, I looked through all the fabric companies, and I wanted a gold color back, but I couldn't find anything that I liked. Finally, I found a kind of a gold color shantung. I thought, okay, that'll have to do. When I went home and I stretched it out on my quilting machine, it looked like my mother's old drapes from the 70s. I just thought, I can't put that on the back of my beautiful quilt. I turned it over and I looked at the wrong side, and this is what I found. The wrong side of that shantung was this beautiful satin, gold satin. So this became the right side of the quilt instead of the white. I'm going to show you some of my favorite floral patterns. This is the one that my husband likes the best. It's called Chinese porcelain. It could be a very wide border with these pieces on both sides, or if you leave this edging off, then it can stack up. Okay, rosy feathers. Everybody likes feathers, and this one has roses in it. This is a beautiful, luxurious pattern, but you might want something more simple. So how about cherry blossoms? Something a little more simple and a little bit smaller if you like that size with your quilt. Finally, an interlocking cactus flowers. Cactus is really popular this year. Okay, I want to show you some kids stuff too. Not just grown-up lady stuff, but some kids stuff. I made this beautiful dinosaur quilt, and I fussy cut all these dinosaurs to have them spinning around. I just love the way it turned out. And this beautiful orange fluorescent thread is perfect. I wanted it to show up because I wanted the pattern to show up. This is my Dinosauria pictogram. Remember, a pictogram is 12 feet long and nothing repeated. So it has all different dinosaurs on it. Next, teddy bears. Teddy bears is perfect for a baby quilt. Someone that you know having a new baby. It has a nice sashing that goes with it. Or if you have a little girl that needs a quilt. Dancing princesses is just right. My granddaughters love dancing princesses. And finally, Frog Pond for all the little boys. I love these kids' patterns, don't you? I have 8 kids, and so I've used a lot of them. Well, you know, I grew up in the modern age when it was all the rage, and now it is again. I can't believe it. But I've got some modern designs to show you. I'm going to hurry because I have a lot more to do too. So the first thing I want to show you is this Skylines quilt and the Skylines pattern. I love this. And this is a great pattern for men. They like to have the skyline and on their quilts. Here's another great modern pattern. It's called Nebula. Another one, I thought I got it on the right side, but I didn't. This is Coils. This has been a really, really popular pattern. If you look on the website, you'll see a leather pillow quilted with coils. It's really beautiful. Okay, some of these others. Let's get this out of the way. This is how we have all of our patterns displayed in our big booths at shows. So I thought you'd like to see what it looks like. And I have a pattern in here to show you. It's one of my favorite modern patterns. It's called Maori Moko. Did I tell you I really like foreign cultures? That's why the Maori Moko from New Zealand. Okay, the next pattern I want to show you is Modern Squares. It's quilted on this quilt. A really popular and fun pattern. It can be adjusted different ways to make different kinds of designs. Look on the website and you'll see. Here's probably the most popular pattern of all that I'm showing you is Spiral Suns. Everyone loves Spiral Suns. Did I tell you we used to have a desert house when I was young? The hill behind our house was called Rattlesnake Hill. One time my brother, teenage brother, was driving home from town and we were all in the car. And he saw a pink thing on this road. And he swerved and my dad said, "Why did you swerve?" And he said, "Oh, I thought it was just an old inner tube." It was a snake that had shed its skin. I have a snake skin pattern that I love. Now don't be put off because it's a snake skin. It makes a beautiful diagonal pattern on the quilt. Here's another great one from Southwest, kind of the same area, Modern Southwest. And finally, well, maybe this is the most popular. I don't know, Spiral Suns or Flower Burst. And this comes in 2 sizes. It also comes in I guess it's a 14-inch size. This is the 10-inch size. I want to show you, before we start talking about the ocean, of my very first pictogram, Fish Your Business. And this is one of my favorites. So I just wanted to show you before we got started. Isn't this a great pattern? It comes in 3 sizes. Okie doke. Now let's get going. I love these patterns I'm going to show you. Partly it's because they're some of my newest patterns. This is a quilt I just love. I love the textures. I love the colors. And you know, I made it out of all those strips. You know how when you're machine quilting, you have to have a little extra to pin everything in place? And so then you cut all these strips of cloth off. That's what I used to make this quilt. I am so proud of myself. Okay, so I call this Sandy Shore, and I designed a pantograph. It's interlocking sideways, and it's called Sandy Shore. Isn't that beautiful? Have you been to the beach and you know how the ocean leaves a little rippling texture in the sand, not just in the water? That's what I was trying to achieve. And so if you can get a close-up of this right here to see that rippling texture, it's down in the sand-colored panels. Okay, above that, I quilted Seascape. And so we have the waves breaking over the ocean, over the sand. And finally, above that, I quilted Cloudy Skies. This is a great pattern if you want something easy and fast. A few other patterns that could have gone with this. One is Sailing with Dolphins. This is also a good pattern for a kid's quilt. And finally, oh, I have to go to the other side. Sand dollars. Isn't that great? Don't you just love those white sand dollars that you find on the shore? Or do you find them? Not every place. Okay, so on the other side, I have a desert blanket. Let's move this over. Now this is the way we sell the patterns in our actual booth. So here we have Southwest. I call this Southwest Pueblo. See the buildings, the Pueblo buildings? This is also a pictogram of the Southwest. I don't know if you can see the horse in this picture. I love that pinto pony. Southwest Vistas. A new pattern is an interlocking cactus garden. You know, this year there's so many cactus fabrics. And so I wanted to design some new pattern to go along with that. So this is interlocking cactus garden with those saguaros. Now, if you want something simpler, here is Simple Saguaro. It's also interlocking, but I just had to squeeze one more in, so I put one on top of it. Spinning Cocoa Pellet. It's one of our favorite patterns. I love the way it looks. And finally, another new one was, I call it Desert Rose. The plant's name is really long, Echeveria. And so I thought Desert Rose would be better. And one quick thing, when we used to drive from Los Angeles to Utah, we always stopped in Las Vegas at the Desert Rose Motel. I hope you come to our booth. www.meadowlyon.com is our website. Sign up for our newsletter so you'll find out all the new patterns. Okay, see ya.